Right.
Thank you all for coming. We're slightly behind time, but we'll get started in a second. This is a very busy room. You have to clear some space at the back, and standing room only maybe for this one. So thank you all for coming. So I'm Will Callan, I'm product lead for Localgov Drupal, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to this latest session of Localgov Drupal Week 2025. Thanks for joining us. So this session has a bit of a mouthful title, so well done to you all for writing this. Transforming how we publish, the PDF importer project at Southwark Council. And just before we get started, I just want to say thank you to a few of our event sponsors. So Anatech, who holds the development contract for Localgov Drupal, thank you. Agile Collective, who is our previous dev team through alpha and beta phases, who hold our support and hosting contract. And also thank you to Big Blue Door, who are currently sponsoring Mark Conroy to work on our platform. Thank you all. Also to our council and supplier subscribers and our supporting partners, because you all contribute so much. That's why we're here. I think a few people are new to Zoom. So I'm even wondering what I was going to tell you there. So I think you can decide how to view the meeting. It's top right, there's a view button you can click on that changes how you might see this. So feel free to do that. We're recording this session, so it might be better if you're definitely audio off. You might prefer to be camera off as well, because you might appear on a video otherwise. So if you want to do that, please do. I'll be keeping an eye on questions in the chat. Do you want to be interrupted, Ruin team, during with questions or not?
I think if
Do you
we
want
could do questions at the end, that might be really helpful.
questions at the end? Brilliant. So I'll hand you over to the team. So it's Justin, Angie, Rue. Over to you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. So just to double check, can everybody see my presentation screen? Because I'm not a Zoom person. I'm very much Teams, but yeah, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful, all the thumbs going up. So thank you all. My name is Angie Forson, and I am the web and digital program lead over at Southwark. And I have the privilege of working on this project with my team. So really just to welcome my team and to welcome you all and to go through what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to just cover, meeting the team. I just want to give a shout out to the team who have been working on this project. We're going to talk about the problem, why we got here, the use of AI and our strategic approach. I've pinched a slide from my in-house dev who was talking about the technology. He's broken it down so easily that I can understand. So I'm going to share that with you. And then we'll have Justin come on to talk about a content designer's viewpoint. Lastly, we will go over to Rue, who does all the technical bits and can take you through that product journey. So yeah, let's meet the team. So I'm the project sponsor, but in Southwark we have Georgi, Justin, Faraz, and Eve who have been beavering away on this piece of work, and we have had other people just pop their heads into the project and just supported on smaller bits. I think two of our content designers, Risha and Sam, have also had some sort of dabbling. We also want to shout out to Rue, who has been just awesome, and Justine as well. And not to forget Ryan, who has had his input in as part of the Localgov Drupal community. Really grateful for all the support there. So the problem. So what was the problem? We were trying to. We have an issue of spending loads and loads of hours, basically, just working on PDFs and extracting it manually. These PDF, they really do have rich information in them, but they're locked into a format which it's just not accessible. And the struggle is real. It's it's so slow. It can become demoralizing having to just spend hours all of your day to do that. So yeah, we knew we could do better. And so where we started thinking about using AI, there was a Localgov Drupal week or camp, I can't remember which one, that Rue and Justine presented at, and I thought this was a solution we could use. So we're not using AI to dazzle, but what we're doing is using AI to unblock the team from the grind of that manual copy and pasting of PDFs to HTML. This important project began as a response to a simple problem, yeah, but repetitive challenge. It's how can we reclaim our time and energy spent on that repetition task, that repetitive task, um, so that we can redirect our focus onto something more meaningful, um, and yeah, just do the right thing. So this was kind of like it's a strategic leap for us. It's not just a technical fix because technology is great, but it doesn't always fix the problem. So rather than treating this as a one-off tech problem, I frame this as a strategic opportunity. How can the importer, help us not just to extract the data, but also to align this project to a broader, goal of improving service delivery, enhancing staff well-being, and building the future capabilities. Um, so just very high level, because I'm not techie, but very high level, our technical stack and the future for us at the moment. So the importer is made up of the AI and the web, and we're using Claude at the moment, and obviously Localgov Drupal, using the publications module. And at the present moment, it goes through a pipeline, and it's very there's three parts to that pipeline. It's that extraction, it's that transformation. It extracts the text from the PDF, all the images, all the links, and then it sends it through to the AI that puts it all back together again into the HTML format, and then it inserts it into the publication module, which then gets presented on our web page. So yeah, that's kind of how we are at the present moment. Now, what we've also understood from the importer is that it's really highly configurable, and each of these parts use plugins and a plugin architecture that can be replaced and customized. And this first release is looking at PDFs and pulling information from PDF, but what's the possibilities? We can possibly move from PDFs to documents and other HTML things. We can move from Claude, where Claude's what we're using at the moment, but for any reason we needed to change, there's Gemini. You can plug any of your AI products in, and we're inserting the text into the publication module. But going forward, what about articles and guides? So that's where we are on that strategic approach, that innovative thinking at the present moment. And I'm going to step back and let one of my team members, Justin, just take you through the viewpoints of from a content designer's approach. So that's me. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Angie. I will just share my screen. I'd appreciate a thumbs up if people can see my first screen, which says a content designer's viewpoint. I see a thumbs up. Yeah, so I'm a content designer at Southwark Council. Like Angie, I'm not a particularly techie person, but I am someone who has regular first-hand experience of the pain of trying to either make PDFs accessible or convert them into HTML content. And once we are using this importer, I think it's largely going to be sort of people like me who are going to be using it. So I was really pleased to get involved in the project and to sort of bring a content designer's viewpoint to the testing and development. So I will just My screen is not flicking forward. Sorry about this. It may have frozen. There we go.
It's smooth. It's
Yeah,
moving.
sorry. I think we've warmed up now. Yes, so our starting point, I think probably all councils are in the same position here. We have too many inaccessible PDFs on our website. We want to and have to improve accessibility on our website. And as Angie mentioned, it takes a very long time to manually convert PDFs to HTML content, whether that's converting into the publications module or converting, as we sometimes do, into guide pages, that sort of thing. So that's, I think, probably a common starting point for us all. And then I just thought I'd sort of take you through our steps really with the importer. I think there are sort of four sort of outline sort of stages. I think the first thing we really thought about was, what do we want the importer to do for us here at Southwark? And it's not necessarily going to be the same story when other councils start using this, hopefully, but that was our first step. And then from there, we were able to sort of draw up a list of requirements. This is what we'd like the importer to be able to do. And then that took us into a testing phase, into some sprints, where we were testing things, fixing them through development, um, iterating the AI prompt to see if we can get things to work better. And that sort of led us to sort of where we are now, which is sort of the first sort of release of the product. So they were the sort of four steps, and we're sort of at that final step of those four now. We don't think we're at the end of the journey of this, but that's where we are at now. So in terms of what we wanted the importer to do for us here, now we all know AI is really powerful. It can do a lot of things, and we had to think quite carefully about this. And we decided at Southwark that we didn't want AI to rewrite complex text more simply. We didn't want AI to summarize PDFs. Um, we didn't want AI to change text into our house style if the PDF wasn't in house style. And we didn't want it to add subheadings, for instance, if that wasn't there in the PDF. And the importer can, I think, do these things, but we decided we didn't want that to be our starting point. I think, as we all know, in web teams, we're sometimes presented, or usually presented, with final signed off PDFs, and sometimes this director or this cabinet member has signed it off. And we were nervous about then importing a PDF that would end up looking particularly different to, say, a printed version. We wanted our starting point to be a printed PDF and the web PDF to be the same content. Now, obviously, after that, we can choose to do further content design. And this is quite a tough one for a content designer because, publications, as we all know, they're not written with a web user in mind, and they're obviously often full of complex sentences and headings hierarchies are wrong. But that was our decision. We wanted our starting point to be, if we're making an online version of a publication, let's start with it to be a sort of true reflection of it. So we did ask, we did want the text to be preserved accurately. Um, the one thing we did sort of challenge sort of Rue to develop further, and I think Rue's going to talk about this in a bit, was to do with pagination. So sort of one of the early iterations of the importer created one publications page, one HTML page per PDF page, but that sometimes meant, a page break might be in the middle of a bulleted list. So we said, no, we don't want that. We want the page breaks on the web version to be a sort of user focus point. So Rue responded to that challenge, and it now sort of creates page breaks at sort of user focus points. Yeah, and then other things we wanted, links, tables, images, bullets, all to import accurately, and headings hierarchies, H1, H2, H3, we wanted those to be accurate. So we essentially then built up a list of requirements. I've mentioned some of those just there. Some of those were really comfortable for a content designer. You know, we wanted H1, H2, H3s near the bottom there. We wanted links to be accurate. Others were slightly more challenging for us because we were saying, don't change the capitalization, you know, and sometimes a capitalization in a PDF is wrong. You know, we know people love headlines full of capital letters, which are at odds with house styles. But again, our starting point was we wanted an accurate import of the original text, whatever the state of that original text. Uh, then went into testing. So we had lots of PDFs that sort of covered all these requirements. And when things didn't work, we might sort of push it back to Rue and he could do some more development work at the extraction phase. Or we could work on our AI prompt, or Rue might suggest changes to the prompt, which is really about the import phase. But we sort of went through lots of testing. And I think I probably went through about 50 iterations of an AI prompt. Now, I don't think you're going to see this very well, but this is our current AI prompt, the one that's gone through sort of 50 iterations. Um, this was really building on an initial prompt Rue built with some technical things I don't really understand, but then adding some more things to respond to our requirements. So I added things like do not invent text, do not add summaries, do not ever change lowercase letters to capitals. And yeah, I found it responded well where you were quite assertive with it. Um, so that's our prompt. Um, you might be anxious to see the results. So Rue might have a more polished a demo of this, but here are some screenshots. This is our secondary admissions booklet. Now, this isn't style and themed in our publications module. This is a sort of off the shelf version, but this is what it looks like. The photos import, page breaks at sensible points, the bullets work well, headings hierarchy is correct. Couple more here. Tables all working well with the right HTML tags on tables. Hyperlinks all working well. Um, yeah, it is all looking really good. That is my honest, independent viewpoint here. A few learnings. I'm here to say this thing works. I'm not here to say it is 100% perfect. I'm not here to say there's not further improvements, but proof of concept, this thing is good and it works. That's the content designer's viewpoint. Um, it takes a few minutes to import, maybe between 2 and 5 is my experience, depending on its size. I do need to do manual checks. I do need to sometimes do a few little fixes. I think it's important if other councils are looking at it, you need to decide what you want it to do for you. We talked about this true, almost copy and paste starting point. That was our choice. It might not be other people's choice. The AI prompt is really significant. You can have two very different prompts, and what you see as your publication output will be very different. We will certainly be sharing our prompt, but we're not here to say we've cracked it and have written the best prompt. Other people will probably write a better prompt, and it'd be great if we could all share our prompts and work on this as we go forward. I think I've got one more final slide. Sort of key question, does this save time? And there's a bit of nuance here, but I think at the moment, without the importer, if a PDF does need to be on our website, we basically have two options. We can sort of reluctantly upload it, or maybe do some accessibility fixes, or we can convert it manually to accessible HTML format. And I think the key thing here is if we're reluctantly uploading a PDF and then instead we decide to use the importer, we're not saving time there because uploading a PDF, which we don't like to do, it only takes a few seconds, doesn't it? The importer will take a bit longer. However, where we are deciding to convert things to HTML and where we might be thinking about big projects to purge PDFs and replace with HTML, that's where the importer is the thing, and I would say it's an absolute game changer. But yeah, that's me from a content designer's perspective. I think I will stop sharing and I'm handing over to Rue, and it's been a pleasure working with Rue, and we are chicken on this. Rue, over to you.
All right, so I'm just going to share my screen. Right, is that working all right? Have you got my slides? Cool. There's one before that. There you go. Hi, I am Rupert Jobman. I am Technical Director of Chicken. Yeah, Chicken is a digital agency run by me and Justine. For the record, Justine and Justin are different people. It's taken me a few months to get used to typing the correct name when I've been typing Justin, so sorry about that for all the times I've got it wrong. I've been working with the team at Southwark for the past few months to improve the PDF importer, as you've just heard, to make it into something that they can use. So I'm going to go back to basics a little bit. What exactly is the publications importer? So it's a Drupal module that lets you upload a PDF and make it into an HTML publication automatically. It is totally open source, like the rest of Localgov Drupal is. It's been open source since the very beginning, when it was just a prototype that I built because I thought it could be useful. And it's really nice to see that a lot of you have agreed with that. Brilliant. This is the third time I've given a presentation on this, and I'm hoping it won't be the last one. The first one was during LGD week this time last year, and there was another earlier in the year at LGD camp. This talk will hopefully be at a much better ambient temperature than the last one. It's also mostly about how things have progressed since the last time. So yeah, there's a bit of recap. This isn't all entirely new, because I know there are some people who are totally new to LGD, so they won't have seen this. So sorry for a bit of repetition. In case you're wondering what publications even are, this is what publications look like. It was released at the start of 2024. Hammersmith and Fulham got it first. That's their site on the left that we built at Chicken. On the right, there's some publications that have been created by other councils who've adopted it as well. If you've made fancy new publications since last time, sorry, I still haven't updated the slide. It's still your old stuff. But the publications importer kind of started when publications was still in development. People kept getting the wrong idea about what publications did, and they'd ask me can I just upload a PDF and have it appear? It's no, it's not quite what it does. But it did get the cogs going and made me think, let's see if we can do that. So I made a prototype, and the idea of this was to try and prove if could importing a PDF automatically even work. So this is the video that I showed you all at LGD week last year, and it's the one that Angie saw and went, oh, that looks interesting, maybe we could help out with that. So let me just kick it off. So that's one of Hammersmith and Fulham's PDFs there on the right, and the prototype importer on the left. You upload the file, and then 108 seconds later you get a publication. Here we go. What it does isn't bad, but you can see a load of things in it where it could be improved. So only the first page of the publication has a title, the rest are page 2, page 3, etc. You can see each page of the HTML publication contains the content from one page of the PDF, which isn't terrible for this document, but if you have one where lists or tables run over a page break, it looks kind of odd. Actually, this is an example. Those coloured boxes on the right, that's the first 3 items of a list. And then you'll see the next page of it is the next 3 items, and they're on separate pages, which is a little bit rubbish. You see also the headings there are massive. There's not the consistency that it needs to have, because the AI has done different things on different pages. So this could be better, but it was a good start, and it kind of proved that this could work at all. So 1 year later, this is what it actually can do now. So yeah, Southwark stepped up to fund the first phase of development. So I'm going to show you the differences. I'm going to import the same PDF as before using the current importer code. And for the record, I've put 0 effort into cleaning this up. Like, once it's been imported, this is exactly what you get out of it. And you'll see it's not perfect, but the aim of this phase was to save editors time compared to building from scratch. And, I'm hoping you agree it does that pretty well. So, play the video. The first thing you notice is that the UI is now more than just a simple form. We process the PDFs in the background, so we need to be able to see the imports that we already created. We click the button to upload a new one. That's the same form as before. Once you upload it, you end up back on the import screen with your new import as the first line. I cut some time out of the video, but you'll see the status change and then a link to the new publication appear. There it is. So we'll click that and see what we get. So the most obvious difference is it's brought in the image. There's also decent page titles on the left that actually describe the page content. And you'll also notice it's combined these two pages because there wasn't a lot of content on either of them. They're now a single introduction page. And the first image there is probably actually better placed on the page before, but it's easy to move them between pages. That's something I think we can improve on in the future, though. You can see how it's brought in the rest of the content on this page and decided that makes for a decent page in itself, though. So then the page before that had the large coloured boxes on, scroll to it on the right, you can see it's brought in all the 3 items from that page and the 3 items from the next page to make one page on the left. So it's combined that list that ran over 2 pages into one. This page here on the left, we've got 2 images imported, and sometimes the cropping isn't quite right, but that's just how it's displayed by Drupal. The whole image is in the media library, and you can pick a better crop if you want. But you can see it's combined the pages again here. So like that page on the right just has 1 paragraph, and it's put it in with the other text on the left. This page here on the right is an interesting one because it's imported it slightly out of order. So it's a 2-column layout, and it's put like the right column before the left column. And you'll see on the next one, it's actually, another 2-column layout, and it's got them the right way around on this one. So there's still some little niggly things like this that we could work on. Oh yeah, that call out box on the top right is at the end. It is there. So I'm hoping you get the idea by now, so I'm going to stop narrating it. It's bringing all the text in without altering it, unless we specifically ask it to in the prompt. And you can do that. It's yours to control. It's making the text into pages that make sense for the web, like Justin said, instead of pages. So instead of pages that make sense for a PDF, it's also bringing in the images where it can. It's mostly putting them on the right page. It's thinking up sensible headings and titles for each page, and it puts it all into the site. So that's what it does. I'm going to skip the rest of the video, so there's a few minutes of it left. So this is the difference between the code in those 2 videos. Don't worry about speed reading it because I'm going to go into more detail on each one. If you saw the talk earlier in the year at LGD Camp, there's a couple of slides repeated here, but the reason for that is this is all stuff that Southwark funded or someone else has contributed since the prototype stage. So there is loads of little bug fixes, and there's added test coverage using the same CI setup as the rest of Localgov Drupal. And that's really important because it enforces quality in the code and makes the whole thing maintainable. So each change to the module runs functional tests, which import a load of real content from a test suite that's currently got 14 PDFs in it. And they're all the ones that Southwark were using for their own testing during the last phase of development. So each time we find a new bug in the future, if we can add a PDF with an example of the bug into the test suite, we can make sure that bug stays fixed. Oh, and all that test data, it's in a separate project, so you don't have to install hundreds of megabytes of PDFs into your site. So yeah, if you're not familiar with plugins, they're a system that Drupal uses to let functionality be swapped in and out. Angie mentioned this earlier. We split up the processing pipeline into plugins, which means we can change entire chunks of code and configure each step individually. And this lets us do things like configure the AI prompt, and it opens up future possibilities like converting to other content types or having really specific extract plugins for like specific files. Each configuration is called an import pipeline, and multiple import pipelines are supported. So instead of just doing the same thing for every single file you upload, you can define as many pipelines as you like and choose which one gets used when you upload a file. And this was really helpful when the Southwark team were testing and experimenting with prompts. It meant that each of them could run their own tests and experiments and not interfere with each other. We use Drupal AI to abstract the AI calls, and this means the importer can work with a load of different LLMs. The prototype just used ChatGPT's PHP library directly, and hence it could only talk to ChatGPT. Now we use Drupal AI, we can use any of those AIs in the list on the right, and that opens up the use of the module to councils who might have access to one AI and not others, and it also allows some experimentation to see which works best. We are having good success with Claude via AWS Bedrock at the moment, but you're free to try any of those and see what works for you. But also, if you're already using Drupal AI, you've already got a provider set up and you're one step towards being able to use the importer. And for the record, I've said AI a lot just now, but you can use the importer with no AI at all. What you get out of it is less polished, but it should still be a time saver compared to a lot of manual copy and paste. This was a big change. It's come up already, but it resulted in a lot of re-engineering. So like we used to send the AI a page of the document at a time to just add the structure into it. But as we worked on the module, we found that there were disadvantages to doing it like that. And then eventually we moved to sending the AI all of the content in one go, which gives better results, but it's harder to do, which is explained on this slide. So this is like the pros and cons of each method. It boils down to the new way works better, but it takes longer to do. And it has the disadvantage that you can't break it up into small units of work to get it done easily. So the new way, which sends everything to the AI in one big request, gives much better results. Like the page titles are better, the style is more consistent, content doesn't run across page breaks, but it can take a long time to get the results back. And this is why we moved to processing the uploaded files in the background. It's much more suitable for long-running tasks. But of course, as the AI integration is a plugin, the old method is actually still there, and you can use that if you want to. One of Southwark's first requirements was for the links to appear in the publication, just like they do in the original PDF. The prototype would bring through the text in the link, but it would literally just be the text. So this one is really easy to explain. There weren't any links before, and now there are. And just to give you some example of the pain I went through to make this work, links in PDFs are stored very differently to how they are in HTML. And I made getting this right kind of tricky. In HTML, links are an integral part of the content. Links in PDFs are what's called annotations. They're like a clickable box that floats over the text. And the annotations are stored totally separately, like with no relationship between the text and the annotation, other than them being drawn in the same place. So to make links work, we need to figure out which bit of the text is under the annotation in the PDF, then find that text in the content, and then replace it with text wrapped in link tags. And the PDF parser library that we're using has methods that help with this, but they've had a few bugs that prevented the results being totally correct. Kind of hilariously, it quite consistently picked the text to the left of the link instead of like the actual text. But I've been fixing those bugs as part of this work, which is a really nice example of how open source projects can help each other out. So yeah, with those bugs fixed, the links in imported documents are working pretty nicely. And I'm hoping you're getting a sense now of how tricky PDFs are dealing, how tricky it is to deal with PDFs on a technical level. Images are no exception. There's a few different ways that images are stored. And as it stands, we can import some of them, but not all of them. Some images are fairly simple to extract. These tend to be like the larger photographic images. You get the data, you write it to a file, and you get a working JPEG, which you can pretty much just use on the website. Other images are trickier. They're stored as their raw pixel value in the PDF, which means you need to reassemble the image pixel by pixel to get a working file. And there's all kinds of like different encodings and stuff like that once you've done that. The importer can do some of these, but not all of them. We basically just didn't have the time or the budget to figure them all out. What we got from the simpler images that we could extract was good enough for the moment. So like you can see in the screenshot there, it's got loads of them, but there's one that it's tried to extract that couldn't make into something usable. Being able to get all the useful images imported and inserted into the page in the right place is something that we can work on in the future. So yeah, I've had a lot of people ask what's next, and I've got a few ideas, but ultimately we're trying to build something here that will be useful for people creating publications on council websites. So it's not really up to me. Working with the team at Southwark has been invaluable for the project, I think, and I think it's pushed it in a direction that will make it more useful for everyone here. There is a list of issues on the GitHub project with all the bugs and potential enhancements. Please do have a read and add your thoughts. Next slide. And yeah, like Will said previously, this project is part of the Localgov Drupal Community Fund, funding from Chicken and Southwark so far. We are talking to a couple of other councils at the moment about possible further rounds of development, which I'm looking forward to announcing. If you are someone I've spoken to about this that I've failed to get back to, I'm really sorry. I will try and follow up this week. Now we've got all Southwark's work done and this talk written. So yeah, if you'd like to try the importer, the module is there on GitHub to download. I released beta 1 last week, and I don't see why that couldn't be version 1 in time. If people want to try it out, let me know how it works. If you've got a dev team already, they can set it up for you. If you don't have a dev team, come and have a chat and we'll see if we can help you out. And yeah, that is everything. Has anyone got any questions?
There's loads of questions in the chat. Do you want me to help you with that?
Oh yeah, go on then. I've had the chat hidden.
Okay, no worries. I'm not sure. You can pick who's the best to answer. Alex from Islington says, how do you decide which PDFs will stay as PDF and which ones will be imported as HTML? So maybe that's a Southwark question, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a case of not necessarily all staying as PDF. Sometimes we might have dual, because some of them are that strategic PDFs that have gone off and they've gone and paid loads of money to get printed, blah, blah, blah. They will still want that on the website. So yeah, it depends on the need or the reason for the PDF. What we wouldn't want is everybody kind of creates PDFs just out of Word these days. And it's those type of PDFs that we want to just kind of remove completely. But there will be a need to have some on the site still, unfortunately. I'm sure one of my team, if she's on the call, will be having kittens, the fact that I've said that. But yeah.
I don't think I can do anything about it if you're talking about me.
There she is. I can hear the voice. Thanks, Sam.
I think just to add, I
Okay.
think our first, sorry, Justin here, our first ambition is to not have it at all. You know, Angie said earlier, lots of them have information rich content and we need to get those onto websites. Let's be honest, some of them don't, and the first option should be to not have it at all in PDF or HTML format. Maybe if, you know, maybe someone can email for it. But yeah, when it is information rich, then we've got to decide. But first ambition is to reduce unnecessary content. Sorry, Will.
No, it's all right. I'm just a lot of questions because it's a very popular session. There's one from Neil and one from Steve, which I think have been answered in the chat, but post again if you want more detail. Next is Andrew. Does converting your documents to HTML pages significantly increase the number of pages on the site? Does this have implications? And he gives an example, you know, things like Site Improve was based on cost per page. Does anyone have any thoughts? Angie, you did actually, I've just seen you've replied, but does anyone else want to reply?
Well, it depends how many you can. Yeah, it would create a lot more pages. Again, I'm not a techie person. I think Rue might be able to come in. I think depending how big a PDF, I think the storage on a server would be less with HTML content than a PDF. Is that right?
Yeah, you're just talking about a few extra database records to, you know, store the page effectively. It's like you wouldn't think twice about, like, you know, adding 10 new pages to your site, would you?
Yeah.
No, correct.
No.
But yeah, if someone like Silk Tide is charging per page, there would be something to think about. I mean, you can instruct Silk Tide which sections of your website. You know, you can control that, can't you? But yeah, a good question.
I guess keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's your question, Andrew. Can you tell it to change all headings to sentence case, says Nova? And Justin's just said yes. I was going to ask that question as well. So assuming that's answered, we'll move on. Does it pull, Vicky says, does it pull the alt text through for images and tables? I don't know who can answer that.
No, it doesn't. So there is an issue in the issue queue to look at using like the PDF UA features to get stuff like that if it exists. The Plaza we're using at the moment doesn't have support for it, so we need to add that. But yeah, that's a possibility. Or another possibility is for PDFs that don't have the accessibility stuff in them. We get like the AI to think up alt text given the image.
Should be interesting. Good stuff. Sarah from Blackburn says, does it work with footnotes? We're trying to get that working on our publications.
It doesn't do anything with footnotes at the moment.
But it could. That's the backlog item, right?
Could potentially, yeah. I hadn't thought of that.
Ooh, and Maria went, ooh, good question. So that was in anticipation of you saying that, Rue, I think. Akeem said, I've heard about Drupal AI from our developers. Is this something that all Drupal users will have? And Paul has answered, yes, absolutely. There's a link. So if you're curious about Drupal AI, then please do explore. There are more AI sessions during the week for Localgov Drupal week, but do come and ask questions if you like. Simon says, it'd be good to make telephone numbers clickable as well. Justin says, yes, that's true. Do you have any more to add to that, Justine or Rue?
That is totally something we could do, yeah. So like one of the things that you can add is like more transform filters. So we could cook up a transform filter that looks for telephone numbers and, you know, makes them linkable. You wouldn't even have to use AI to do that.
Cool. Nova asked about alt text to images, but I think we've already said it doesn't add them automatically right now. Larry, if I pronounce your name right, do the publications come up in search results? What do you do if importing the public PDF duplicates? What do you do if importing the PDF duplicates existing web content? Sorry, didn't make a very good job of asking that. Can you see the one I'm referring to? Do the publications come up in search results? Let's start with that.
They do, yeah.
HTML, so yeah.
And if you've made a publication that duplicates something that's already there, presumably you just have to know that and remove the other thing. Is that true?
Yeah, so we wouldn't want duplicate content on the website, whatever its format. So yeah, that would be a case by case for us. You know, you want it to be clear for the user if they're getting their information from a publication or a standard page. So I think that is something to think about, and you know, duplication should be avoided.
Good stuff. Thanks, Justin. Athena asks about Word documents. Would it work better with the original Word document? I'm not sure if you've done that translation, have you? But I think you've talked about it, Rue, in the past.
Yeah. So because the whole thing is based on plugins, we could have an extract plugin that pulls the content out of Word.
Just not written.
Yeah,
not
just
done.
not written.
Okay.
I do wonder if Andy from Brighton has tried it, because they made an issue for it ages ago, and I bet. Yeah.
Good stuff. Another one from Larry. Are you changing governance for PDFs? Because, you know, you remove them and it puts you all out of a job because there's no more PDFs. Is that a thing you've considered?
I don't know if it puts you out of a job.
I was thinking more about clever developers who build PDF importers. Maybe they move on to something else, though.
Exactly.
This is the question I always ask at this event, is like, have you sorted out the governance for PDFs? And like, can we just stop doing it? I don't know if you've had any joy with that, Angie or team.
So this is something we're actually discussing at the present moment. I don't think we're ever going to be able to just stop doing it. But what we do at the present moment when we get PDFs is, you know, speak with searchers and explain to them why. It's that learning thing for the organization of why we don't want to use PDFs. We are putting together a paper that it's HTML first approach. But yeah, that's something we're trying to get together and sort out.
Sure. Tamara asks, is PDF importer and publications content type available for Drupal 10? I think it is. There's nothing in Drupal 11 that you need. That's, I guess, to Rue.
I don't think I've actually tried it on Drupal 11, so yeah.
So yeah, you can use it in Drupal 10. And I don't think nothing's come our way either that when we were looking at it. Jason asks, when moving the PDF to HTML pages in their exact copy, are you saying no to the PDF being uploaded? I guess is an HTML version better than the PDF version that preceded it?
Sorry, I missed that question.
Oh, I can answer. I think that's our idea. Sorry, Angie, it's whether once we've uploaded an HTML version, would we still publish the PDF version? And again, I think it's case by case. I think our preference would be to do away with the PDF at that point, but I think there will be times where we might want to link to it as well. So it's a case by case, but our ambition is for content to be as accessible as possible. So where possible, do away with the PDF altogether. That's the sort of glorious goal, isn't it? No PDF.
Exactly.
But yeah, as Angie said.
I think the approach we're trying to get to, or the place we're trying to get to, is we've got this thing that says HTML. If you need a PDF version, can we, click a button and get that to be downloaded as a PDF if somebody wants it? But yeah, that's another thought going forward.
I'm conscious that we're over time now, and maybe people want to go and have lunch, but there's a couple more questions. So maybe not add any more questions, please. We'll go through the ones that remain because I think there's only like 2 or 3. Do images from PDFs get compressed on import?
The images don't. The original image gets pulled in, but Drupal's image style feature will make a sort of a version that's more sensible for the web. So Drupal doesn't spit out like 300 DPI images anyway, so that handles that.
Cool. Have you tried this with meeting minutes?
Ryan has.
How did they get on? Justin says there's early discussions.
Yeah, that's all that Ryan's been testing on Southwark's site. I'll let you guess why. But yeah, no, it works pretty well with them. We were thinking about doing something like having a special extract plugin for those that can like split out the boilerplate from the content, so we only get the content and not the boilerplate. But yeah, that's in progress.
Katie's asked a question about sort of accessibility in PDFs. Does this stop you having to make the PDF accessible? Because basically, I think what you're saying, Katie, is you just go to the HTML version instead. Does somebody want to read that? It's almost at the end of the...
If I understand, yeah, so if you're not uploading the PDF, it's not going to be in a digital environment. Obviously, you don't need to make it accessible. I think... Oh, I see. So if you've got a PDF published that's not accessible, but you can point to the HTML content instead, That's a good question. It would still come up as an accessibility error on checkers, even if there's, yeah. Any thoughts, Angie? I'm not sure on that, is my honest answer.
Again, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. We'd have to look into that and yeah, come back.
I think that's everyone covered, but Tim's just made a good point that there's a channel on Slack. It's called Feature Publications Importer. If you've got any questions, then please post them there, because I think you're all on that Slack, or most of you are on the team. Did you want to say anything else, or should we stop? I can wrap up.
I think you wrapping up would be great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It's from me.
Great. I mean, there is still over 90 people on this chat, so I think it shows how important this work is, and I'm just, every time I see it, I'm completely blown away. So thank you all, to Chicken, to Southwark for coming along, and to all of you for asking your questions. We hope you found it useful. There's a feedback thing you'll get via email, so please give us your score. 1 out of 5 is a bad score. 5 out of 5 is a good score. There's something going on with the emails that are sent. So if you really do want to give it 1 out of 5, that's fine, but say why. I think it's probably worth more than that. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Anatech, Agile Collective, and Big Blue Door. Loads more sessions this week. Go and have a look on Luma. But for now, that's it from us. Have a brilliant week and a great lunch. It's a bit late, but have a great lunch. See you all soon.